Hey everyone, thanks for joining our weekly Friday webinar series. My name is Brennan. I'm one of the co-founders of WholeCell, and I like to do these webinars to chat about any new features that we have and also just give a general overview of WholeCell for anyone that has not encountered it before. So we'll get started. For anybody that's totally new to WholeCell, WholeCell is an inventory management system that's specifically designed for folks that need to use it for serialized inventory. So we built WholeCell around this idea of serialization because we built it for folks that are buying and selling used phones. And so if you've sold used electronics or particularly used phones, you know that phones are in their unique own world where you want to track them by IMEI. You want to be able to track when they're used, if different things are damaged or broken, what condition they're in, what grade they're in, etc. And so they have all of these unique specifications that make it challenging to track them with traditional inventory systems. And that's why we built WholeCell. So in WholeCell, you'll see all kinds of things specific to phones like IMEI scanning and auditing and fulfilling onto orders. So you can actually say when you get an e-commerce order from one of your e-commerce sales channels, you can say this IMEI is what I'm shipping out on this specific order. If the channel needs to have the IMEI, in some cases we send that IMEI up to the channel, and so that's exactly what WholeCell was built for. Was this kind of deep integration of recording your IMEIs, keeping track of all your serialized inventory, and connecting that to the sales channels you sell on. So yeah, in the last 2 years we've built a lot more e-commerce integrations, and there are more to come. So we're getting a lot of interest in those, and that's where we are trending as a business, is building out these e-commerce sales channel integrations so you can sell your phones more easily. And then we also have several business integrations that make it really easy to connect WholeCell to the other software that you already use. And I'll talk about those a little bit more as well. So for those who don't know what our current state of our e-commerce integrations are, we currently have direct integrations that are fully working, so you can sign into WholeCell and then immediately connect it to these accounts. You can connect it to Swappa, to eBay, to Backmarket, and to Sellbrite to connect to other accounts. So Sellbrite has a handful of platforms that they support. We hope to support all of those platforms directly as we kind of move on soon into the future. But for now, you can use Sellbrite to connect to those other platforms that we don't connect to quite yet. And then we also have kind of another proxy connector like Sellbrite, which is ShipStation. You can bring all of your orders that you can sync into ShipStation through ShipStation into WholeCell. So I always like to mention this because I think some people don't know. It's not a full double-sided sync. So you're only bringing in the orders. You're not constantly syncing the inventory quantities with your listings if you're using that. But if you're just trying to use WholeCell as an order fulfillment tool, then that can work really, really well. You can keep all your serialized inventory in WholeCell. You can connect the sales channels that we don't connect with directly through ShipStation to bring in your orders automatically. And whenever you get a new order from that channel, it's going to hop over to ShipStation, and ShipStation is going to send it to WholeCell. And so you can get all of your orders into WholeCell that way. And then soon on our docket, things that we are working on now are integrations direct with Amazon, Walmart, and Shopify. And just to give a kind of brief concept of how these work, you connect your integration with either your username and password or your API key for that marketplace, and then you bring in all the listings that you have already created on that marketplace, and you can sync those listings in WholeCell to your products in WholeCell using SKU or just directly mapping them to the products themselves. And so that's what allows us to keep your quantities of your listings up to date. So WholeCell will talk to these listings every 10 minutes or so and keep them up to date with your current available quantities. And you can set all kinds of settings to determine which inventory you want to be syncing and so forth. And so what's nice about this, though, and I think folks that are familiar with Sellbrite or other multi-channel systems are familiar with this, but if you sell something on eBay or sell something on Backmarket, all of a sudden an order gets created, and we know that you have an outstanding item that is you need to ship on that order. So WholeCell does this calculation for you of this is how many you have in stock, this is how many you have outstanding that need to be shipped on orders. So subtract that, and then you get to your total available quantity. And so WholeCell's constantly syncing this total available quantity up to your sales channels, which means that you don't have to do that manually. And so that's a huge time savings if you've got somebody doing it manually, and that's why we have these integrations. Our business integrations, we only have a few of them, but you can see that they're with some companies that are specifically in the cell phone arena. So we've got one with Phone Check, so that you can bring all of your inventory into WholeCell from Phone Check. Once you've used if you're familiar with Phone Check, they've got a diagnostic tool where you plug phones into your computer, it reads the data off of them, and then guides you through a handful of functional tests. So you can test whether the phones are what elements of the phones are working or not working. And it's a really good way to standardize all the testing that you do. And so WholeCell can connect right to your Phone Check account and bring in all of your Phone Check data and actually bring in inventory that way. So say you receive a batch of devices, you get them into your office, and you phone check them. So you run them all through Phone Check. You've got your technicians running them through Phone Check. You can then hop over to WholeCell, create a PO, and just in one or two clicks, bring all of that inventory into WholeCell with all of the information that Phone Check got about them. And since WholeCell supports this idea of damage conditions and grades and so forth, if you put that info into Phone Check and did a functional test, then you have that info there, which is great. We also integrate with QuickBooks for all of your accounting, and we integrate with ShipStation as well for the shipping part of this equation. So if you've got wholesale orders that you're just creating manually inside of WholeCell, and your e-commerce orders, WholeCell will push all of those to ShipStation. It doesn't just pull orders from ShipStation; it also can push them there, and then you can create the shipping labels in ShipStation. Those shipping labels and all the shipment information will come back to WholeCell. And if you've got an order that came from an e-commerce channel, that shipping information will get bumped from WholeCell back to the e-commerce channel. So that kind of should signify how we're trying to make WholeCell the main connector between all these different tools that you use to receive your inventory, process your inventory, and sell your inventory. So it's the thing that sits right in the middle, where you can keep track of all of all the serialized inventory and the whole history about the inventory as it goes through your system. WholeCell has just a litany of features. We've got a bunch of different features that you would see in traditional inventory systems, like purchase orders, sales orders, invoices. I think maybe RMAs are a little more unique to our industry, because people are selling used items and they get them back sometimes, because used items sometimes have things wrong with them that you didn't see. Less if you're using a diagnostic tool like Phone Check, but they're part of this business. And so you have in WholeCell, you have all of the traditional features of a normal inventory system that's SKU based, where it's got SKUs and quantities, and then all of these features to track your purchases and your sales. But then WholeCell, as I was mentioning in the beginning, has a handful of features that are really specific to people that are buying and selling phones or other used electronics like tablets, laptops, wearable devices, etc. So we have this concept of both serialization and SKUs. And so you can track all of your serialized inventory, but then you can set the SKUs based on the model of the devices, the grade of them, and the conditions. And that's something that I think is incredibly unique to WholeCell, and why, if you're selling phones and you're frustrated with other inventory solutions, it's worth giving it a shot. We've got IMEIs, IMEI tracking, and then IMEI scanning audits. And so if anybody has any questions about that, feel free to ask. But you can create these things called scan reports in WholeCell that allow you to audit your inventory by IMEI. So you can scan all of the IMEIs and see which ones you have and which ones you're missing, which I think are very popular and really helpful. You can map WholeCell to your current processing workflows. So we have all these statuses. That's kind of the screenshot that I have here on the right of, we've got statuses that you can create a pipeline for your receiving process, for your processing of inventory. You can go push inventory through this testing, grading, staging, repair, available for sale, and sold. So you can create a pipeline, and this is totally customizable to you and how it works in your business. And the same thing for orders. So for all these different processes that you might have those in your business but not really be tracking them, you can model WholeCell to do that, and it just gives everyone working on the business a much clearer picture of what the status of each inventory item is, and the purchases and the sales. So that's the WholeCell feature set in a nutshell. For our pricing, we get questions about this sometimes, so I like to address it on these webinars. Our pricing ranges from small businesses that are buying and flipping phones, all the way up to large wholesalers that are selling a lot wholesale or on e-commerce. And so For the smaller flipper folks that are doing a couple devices a day, we've got a plan, and all these plans are based on how much inventory you're adding. Since we're a serialized inventory system, it's how many inventory items you're adding per month. So on the low end, we've got a $49 plan that allows you to add 100 items in that $49 allowance, and then it's just 49 cents extra per item that you add. You've got one user account, and then you can pay for more. And then all the way on the high end, you've got a plan for $499. So that allows you to have, it's kind of like a cell phone plan, like unlimited. We think of cell phone plans as unlimited data, unlimited talk and text, etc. And so this is our unlimited plan of inventory. So you can add unlimited serialized items, you can have unlimited users, and then all of our plans allow you to use as many integrations. They all have unlimited integrations, but the unlimited plan, I like it a lot, because if you're growing your business and you're planning to get much bigger, which a lot of the folks we talk to are, you can know that WholeCell's not going to keep charging you. There are other multi-channel systems that charge $1,000 to $5,000 a month as you really grow into a large enterprise, and WholeCell's not going to do that. You're going to pay at maximum $499 a month for this software. So that's our pricing. And then now to our to the main event of the hour. This is where I talk about new features that we've launched recently. And just a couple weeks ago, we launched a new feature to our back market integration that automatically brings in your back market RMAs once you've provided a shipping label to the customer in back market. And back market has changed a few things recently, and we've been trying to stay up to date with them and keep our integration right on the heels of their updates. And so they recently released an IMEI feature where you can upload the IMEI to the sales order, and then they started requiring that this year. So WholeCell will already, if you commit an item in your back market order with an IMEI, if it's got the ESN saved, WholeCell will send that ESN up to back market for you, which is a huge time saver. And then this latest thing is back market is allowing you to, and I think maybe even requiring you to provide a shipping label to your customer when they're requesting a return, depending on their request stipulations. But so when WholeCell can bring all of this data about your back market return once a label has been provided to your customer into WholeCell. So we can bring in that information about the RMA, and we can bring in a couple pretty interesting things that we've never brought in before as well, which is we can bring in the shipping label. So you have a shipping label, that PDF in the return, so you can see it, you can track it and figure out when it's coming back. And Sagar, I'll get back to that in just a second. And so you can bring in those shipping labels, but you can also bring in the support message history that you had back and forth, which I think is just pretty neat, because in a lot of these inventory scenarios and e-commerce scenarios, you probably have like 5 tabs open of different websites, the channel, WholeCell, and maybe some other internal tool, and your employees are skipping between all these tools to figure out to just get their work done. And so we're trying to eliminate as much of that as we can progressively over time by bringing the chat history that you had with your customer into the return. So I'll demo that a little bit. And Sagar asked, what about a replacement? So in WholeCell, on RMAs, the whole focus of an RMA in WholeCell is the device that is being returned and what is being done about that device. And so if you want to do a replacement for an RMA for a customer return in WholeCell, what you do is you create an RMA, you add the device that the customer is returning, and then you mark it as a return because they're trading it in for something else. And then you issue a credit to their account for the total amount of the device that they wanted to return and that they purchased initially. And then you create a new sales order for that same device, or not the same device, excuse me, but the same product that you're replacing. And so you add the new thing that you're shipping out, the new replacement product, to that new order, and you charge the same amount for it. And you'll have credits on the customer's account because you applied them from the RMA to use towards the order. So that's how you want to do it. And what's nice about that is you end up having the full history saved. Instead of, some people I think try to erase things. Does it always have to be the same product? It doesn't have to. No. I mean, you can just, the only thing that matters is that the credits end up fully covering it, but they also don't have to. Maybe the customer wants a better product, they want a higher end model or something like that, and you can charge them more, and then you can apply their credits for the old purchase and then just charge them for the difference. This, just to be clear, guys, this stuff, when you're handling the RMA past this point, that doesn't sync with back market. So if this is a back market order, it's not going to create a new order for you on back market. But this is a way for you to have everything correct internally, and you'll just communicate that to the customer as you're working with them. So you'll create a return for their original product, and then you'll create a new sales order for the replacement product that you're sending them. And that way, again, you have this history of, okay, we now have the original order, you still have it in your system, but you have an RMA that was bringing the device back off of that original order. Now you have a new order, so, whoops, excuse me, that is showing that a replacement product was shipped, and you can leave notes on all these things as well, describing, you know, why you had to do that. And again, we have the chat history with your customer about whether they wanted a replacement product or they wanted to return and just get their money back for the initial product. So you have the ability to do that. Hopefully, Saga, that answered your question, but feel free to follow up if it doesn't. And Ali, same thing. I think it doesn't have to be the same product, but it can be. Basically, is my interpretation of that. If you're shipping a better product, you get to determine whether or not you want to sell that better product at the same price that they bought the initial one for. So you could just sell it out at that same price that the credits cover, and then you've got nothing financially to do beyond that. Or if you want to charge them more, it's going to be really clear, because say they bought something for $200 and they're returning it, they want something that's worth $250. So in that initial return, when you process the RMA, once you get the phone back, you're going to apply a credit for $200, and then you're going to add a $250 item to the next order that you create, the replacement order. And so you're going to apply the $200 credit. There's going to be a $50 balance remaining, and you can charge the customer however you want. You can send them a PayPal invoice, or ask them for a wire transfer, or ACH, or something like that, or whatever, Cash App, Venmo, however you guys are accepting kind of micro customer payments at this point. And then once they pay that balance, you can record it on the order, and then you can ship the replacement item. So you've got the ability to handle either situation. So that's that. But my next slide is a demo that I'll hop into, guys. So I just want to show you kind of what this looks like on the settings side with back market. So let me pop open this display. I'm going to make the screen a little bigger too. Can you guys, sometimes I can't tell if the text is crisp enough to come through. Can you read the text that's on this page? Maybe if not, I'll try and make it a little smaller so the text ends up being bigger. Let's see, not hearing anything, so I'm just going to proceed, but fine for you. Great. Sounds good. Thanks, Ali. So we've got this RMA import section. If you've got your back market integration enabled now, you're going to see that in the back market integration. This is should be live for all customers. And so you've got this RMA import option. WholeCell can automatically import RMAs from back market support threads. If the option is enabled, WholeCell will import support messages as RMAs if the customer has requested a return and a shipping label has been issued. Is it enabled by default? No, it should not be enabled by default. This should be off by default. I think when you turn on the back market integration, I think most of the settings are off by default, because we want you to be able to turn those on as you wish. And so no. And to be clear, the only thing this is going to do is bring in these RMAs. It doesn't really mean that you have to work on them immediately. It doesn't like cause new hassle for you, but it brings them in. You can delete them if you want, or if they didn't come in the right way. So it's not like turning this button on causes the world to come crashing down on you. But if you want to try it, you can come in and enable it. And then I'm just going to pop open another tab here to show you what this looks like. So this is an example of one of these that we've brought through our test account. And so it's an RMA that's come in. It doesn't have an item on it yet, because if the customer ordered multiple items, we don't unfortunately have a way to tell which item this is for. So we create a RMA with no products on it, but you can quickly go in and add the inventory that the customer is returning. But what we do bring in automatically are the support messages. This one that came from the marketplace, from back market, gives you the details about why the item is being returned. And these are some of our test messages that don't mean much, but it gives you an idea. And there's a little color coding here too, so you can see this item on the left it's just like a text thread. It's what's been sent by the customer, and then what you responded with. And then you have this ability to click on and open the PDF return labels that you attached and sent to the customer through back market's messaging tool. And so this is, these are the messages that you can't send new messages from here. Oh, these messages are synced. Yeah, exactly, Ollie. This is the coolest thing I think about this feature of bringing returns into WholeCell is that you've got the messages right here. So if you're, and to speak to what you guys were saying, if the customer is asking for a replacement, you know now right here what you had as a back and forth. And again, so you don't have to have 2 or 3 tabs open at once. You have them right here. And our vision of this is basically that, a large enough wholesale or e-commerce business has someone working on returns constantly. And so we're trying to make the life of that person easier and more efficient, and their work more efficient. So you can see right here the support thread that you've got with that customer. You can see the return labels. Once you add the inventory, just like on any RMA, you can mark it as received. Once you receive the product, you can test it again and determine, did the customer break something on the product, and now do you have to deal with that? So this is your portal and your place to do all of those things. Another message from Ali. Do I have to enable the RMA feature to have these messages synced? Yes, you do. The RMA feature is basically, when we look at RMAs, just as an example, these ones from Benton Murphy that you guys can see are our test ones that we've been testing in our demo account. And so these were created once we enabled that sync. So they started being created once we turned that sync on. And now if any new returns come in through our back market account, it will create them here. So there's no separation there. It's either you turn on that feature and these RMAs come into WholeCell, or you don't. You don't really have the ability to turn on or off whether or not they have the messages on them. So if you turn it on, you can come in here and see the message history, and it will create them automatically. And I should say, for folks that haven't used the RMA feature before, originally the RMA feature was designed for kind of more of a wholesale use case. So you can create a new RMA here just from scratch if a customer that you have that's a direct customer is wanting to return their item. So the main thing that this new back market integration does is it takes that work away from you and does it automatically. So when you've got a return and you've issued a shipping label on back market, it automatically creates this RMA. And yeah, to what you're saying, or what you're asking, Ali, it automatically brings in these support messages and these return labels. Whereas if we go back and look at a test one that I've done in the past, we don't have those tabs for the return labels or the support message history. So that's how this works. But this is kind of nice because you can see what an item on this list ends up looking like. So you can see, Ali says, so if I create one RMA manually for a device sold on back market, do the messages come in? No. And it's a great question, Ali, and it's an important thing that I want to get across about. I think we get questions about this in other parts of the back market and eBay and Swappa integrations as well. You have to be using the automatically brought in items, the orders, the RMAs, etc., for any of this stuff to sync, for the messages to come in, or for the order to sync with back market, or for the IMEI of the devices you're committing to the order to sync back up to back market. So you can't create an RMA manually for a device that was sold on back market and then have those messages come in on top of it. You've got to enable this stuff to automatically come in, and that's how WholeCell brings it in. Otherwise, WholeCell wouldn't really know which order that's for. Even though it might be for the right device, we still don't know what order it came in from, because you can have multiple RMAs if a device gets returned multiple times and multiple orders. So, but yeah, if you haven't seen our kind of RMA screen here, I'm going to make it just a little wider to make this table a little smoother. But you're able to record all the phones that you're getting back. They all have a status in the RMA, so you can create them. And if they're awaiting arrival, you're waiting for the shipment to come back, that's going to show here. You can get right back to that item and its entire history by clicking on the ESN. Once you've processed an RMA for an item, it comes up on that item's page. So we're looking at this page for this iPhone 6. I'm backtracking a little bit I'm not talking about the back market RMAs anymore, but just for folks that haven't used RMAs before, I think this is kind of embodies the power of WholeCell, is that you can come to this page for a specific item. If we had pictures of it, they'd show up right here. If you have specific pictures of this specific serialized iPhone, and then you also see the RMA history. So if you've got a phone that's been returned 2 or 3 times for the same thing, and your receiving department, your RMA department, keeps marking the phone as when they receive it and process the RMAs, the customers keep saying, no, the LCD is bad, and they say, no, the LCD is fine. You end up seeing that on this page. You say, okay, there's definitely a problem here because this device has been RMA'd 3 times for the same reason, and that becomes clear. And so this is what WholeCell brings to you if you don't have a system like that in place. But yeah, as far as today's features are concerned, the back market RMAs, we just released it in the last couple of weeks. So we would love your feedback on it. If you start using it and notice anything that's not working quite how you'd expect it to or want it to, please reach out to us and chat with us. We take that kind of the feedback really seriously, and we add all of that feedback and those insights into the next version of updates that we add to any new feature we release. So we'd love to hear that from you. Ollie says, is sending messages to back market from RMAs in the future scope? I don't know actually if that's in our future scope of an upgrade for this or not. And I also don't know if back market's API supports us being able to add messages there. But what I can say is or actually, Mike, since you're on the call, if you don't mind, share our roadmap. We've got an open roadmap that anybody can look at with some of the current ideas that we have. And what you can also do is put in a totally new idea. And so that's what I'd recommend, Ali, is we'll send you the link to our roadmap. And if you've got any ideas, just submit an idea. When you do that, it's also tying your name and your email to that idea. So if we build it, we end up reaching back out to you, which I think is the main key here. Is it might take us a little bit to get that into the scope and build it if it's even possible. But if we do, then we'll reach out to you once it's built. And then you follow up with what about Swappa and eBay? Yeah, absolutely. If this feature does really well and ends up saving people time, we want to bring it to all the other marketplaces. So I think what you guys can see is over time, we release a pretty simple marketplace integration at the start, and then we start making them more and more sophisticated over time. And then we take all of those sophisticated features that we add to one or several of the integrations, and we want to apply them to all of them. So the core answer to your question is Swap and eBay don't have this now in our integration with them, but we very much want to get it there because I think just from my history of knowing the industry that this is going to save people some time. So yes, the plan is definitely to apply it to our other integrations and to the future integrations that we're building with platforms like Amazon and Shopify and Walmart, etc. So that's the plan. Thanks for such an active question thread today, guys. It's really nice to have questions to talk about and respond to. I think that pretty much wraps it up for the demo I wanted to give you. I'm going to hop back to this demo, my last slide in the deck, to just say, if you guys haven't started a trial yet, feel free to start one there and reach out to us since you're on the webinar, or even if you're watching this webinar on YouTube. We love to support people who are really digging in and doing their own research. So let us know in support if you have started a trial and you saw this webinar, and we'll give you a little extra time on your trial as a thank you for digging in and doing your own research. And then if you have any other questions whatsoever, come to the next webinar and chat with us there, but also reach out to us via email or on our live chat support. We really like helping. I mean, it's why we built WholeCell and why we started this, was to help resellers work on these complicated problems. So we love doing that. Ollie says, feature request. Can we upload pictures to Swappa from WholeCell in the future? Yeah, Ollie, that's a great feature request. Put it in the roadmap if you don't mind, that roadmap link that Mike sent. But I can tell you for sure that one's already on our minds, and we can't wait to share something along those lines with you. If you don't mind me asking, are you a power seller or an enterprise seller on Swappa? Enterprise, cool. So you would want to be able to upload pictures to your products in WholeCell, and then to the product variations that are synced with the listings, and then have those sync with your enterprise stock listings in Swappa. Is that correct? So if you're an enterprise seller on Swappa, instead of individual listings that represent one item, you've got stock listings that represent a quantity, but they're one product, but you could have 20 of them. So that's kind of the difference between, so you guys have stock listings. So what you'd want to do is, instead of, but that's not necessarily an issue in WholeCell. I don't know if this is live now, but it's probable that you could upload pictures for your product variations. So you could upload a picture for iPhone 7 32 gig black A grade, and you could upload that to the product variation in WholeCell, and we could sync that with the listing in theory. I'm kind of talking into the future now, but yeah, that's and then the damages also come in. Yeah. So rather than uploading images for the individual devices, if you're if you're an enterprise seller and you've got stock listings, then you would be, well, there are platforms too on eBay. For example, we support one-off listings for the damaged devices that you're selling. And I think that's maybe another option where if you've got an individual listing that you're selling with a damaged item, you can upload the images in Wholesale and then get them to the channel. I think that makes a ton of sense. And that might make sense if you're doing one-off listings for damaged devices, even as an enterprise seller on Swappa. So again, great thing to, if you don't mind, put that into a suggestion on our roadmap and describe it to the best of, to as much as you can. Describe what you're trying to do, the workflow that you're trying to accomplish. We get it, so you guys know, we get a lot of roadmap ideas that people suggest that are kind of like 2 or 3 words, and they're really not. It really helps us to have the whole scenario that you're trying to accomplish, because then we understand, then we don't have to come back and ask you, okay, what were you trying to do here? So as much detail as you can add about the way that you're envisioning that working, it's great for us to have it, and we'll follow up with you about it in the future. But yeah, I see the direction that you're going with that, Ollie, and I think the broader scope that I want to make clear is we're trying to do everything we can over the next few years to make it easier for you to be able to manage your listings and manage all of your sales that are happening e-commerce or wholesale through WholeCell, so that you don't have to spend as much time going to the channels, so that you don't have to spend as much time manually tracking these things. And so I think you'll see us taking little bites out of each part of this process, and then incrementally over time, those little bites will add up to significant time savings. So that's nothing's completely off of our list of what we'll do. So yeah, again, thanks guys for the great questions. If anybody's got any more, I'll hang out for a few more seconds, but if not, thanks for making a great Friday webinar, and this will send us into the weekend pretty well. All right, nothing else. Well, thanks so much, guys. Again, my name is Brennan. I'm one of the co-founders of WholeCell. If you'd like to start a demo with us, that's been on the screen, a trial, excuse me. So you can start a free 15-day trial. We'll give you a little more time if you let us know that you've been on this webinar. And we really want to help you kind of solve all of these problems in your wholesale or e-commerce business. So just get in touch with us, and we'll work with you to do that. But have a great weekend. Happy Friday, and we'll talk to you in the next one. Take care.